footage, and Colin Dixon is the practice manager for IP media for the Diffusion Group, which is a research industry analyst firm, and he writes a free newsletter that I recommend you get, and you can tell them how to do that I get every week, with a lot of great analysis about breaking news and the impact on Hollywood and new media in regard to video. And as you have probably heard from other speakers and just reading the news, NextGen video is really going to, and NextGen video on the internet is really changing the course of money-making opportunities for entertainment-based content. And Colin's going to share his ideas with you now.
Can you all hear it? Can you hear this? The sound that's in the distance is the sound of a tsunami of content that is heading towards all of us. It is building right now. It has been building for many years. It started building on cable and satellite systems. It has continued to build on VOD systems and DVRs. And now it is reaching a rip-roaring pace on the internet. The tsunami of content that is coming over all of us is the single biggest issue that our business, our industry, is going to be dealing with for the next 10 years. It is going to consume all of us in some shape or form, and it is possibly one of the reasons why my phone rings an awful lot these days. It is clearly a defining issue for the delivery of entertainment of our time. So, I am going to be talking to you today about that. We're going to be talking about success values for content, not just about programming. We will start looking backwards. We will, in the middle, we'll be looking at today, and at the end, we'll be talking about the future. And I think you'll see that that future is very definitely IP video, IP media. So this is just a short slide about the Diffusion Group. I'm not going to go into it in a great deal of detail. For those of you that would like a copy of the presentation, more than happy to make one available to you. Just make sure you give me your business card and I'll get one to you directly. Actually, I'll give you a freebie, a white paper on broadband video, which is part of the material that's covered at the end here. So we are going to look at three things. We're going to look at, first of all, how does an operator or somebody delivering content compete in a very mature market? US is a very mature market today for media. Everybody is competing for everybody else's business frantically. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at internet video. We're going to ask ourselves, is internet video a friend or foe? And actually, I'm going to do this not in this order, but we will start with how can I differentiate my service? So that said, differentiation that matters really answers two questions. What do customers want and what do they need? You can't necessarily anticipate what a customer really needs from what they tell you they want. Otherwise, how would you have runaway hits on the web? How would you have unexpected hits at the movies? So customers don't necessarily know what they want. Our job is to anticipate what they need. If we do a good job, we provide differentiation through experience. And any great content provider will tell you that is the only differentiation that matters. the user experience. Great experiences make for great business models. So, let's talk about, let's look at how people find stuff to watch today. And I said it was a history lesson. We'd start earlier. This guide probably looks extremely familiar to all of you. I bet you've got a guide running on a set-top box in your house today that looks pretty much like this, right? This guide is actually Video Guard. It is the first grid guide. It was developed in 1995 and launched. It did a great job of helping people find stuff on 30 channels of television. A great job. Little set-top box, little remote, allowed you to change channels. Believe it or not, they sent the guide data across the paging system. Everybody remember pages? But things aren't like that today. That 20-channel system is now handling 500 channels. How many people have paged through all of their channels on their cable or their satellite system looking for something to watch? Not fun, and not something you do very often. And little wonder that people only watch, of the 500 channels, 15, 16, maybe. But it's gotten worse than that, because cable companies like Comcast and Time Warner and NTL in the UK are providing VOD. And they are providing thousands of hours of VOD. Comcast today provides 6,000 hours of VOD content on their system. And what's more, they're rotating better than 50% of that a month. How do you find something to watch? How many people have waded through the VOD menu system? It's horrendous. It's a horrible experience. How are we, the consumer, going to ever find anything to watch on this system? But you know, can it get worse? Yes, it can. We've added PVR. Many of those PVRs can handle 100 or more hours of content. And what's more, on these boxes, when I do a search, if they let me do a search, I don't get to search everywhere at once. I search just one. I get to search VOD, and then I get to go search broadcast, and then I go to search my PVR. And it's going to get worse. Home media, broadband, mobile, all of this is coming into the mix now. This is our content universe. Your customers are literally drowning in content. And as I said, with 500 channels, they're only watching 15. They need help organizing. And this grid guide that we have lived with for the last 10 to 12 years is an impediment to finding things. If you are a content provider, I imagine many of you are, you should be screaming at cable companies and satellite companies to do something about this, because people can't find the stuff you're putting out there. It's that simple. A new approach is needed. What must this guide do? Well, the first thing the guide must be is it must get personal. It does this in 3 ways. It becomes omniscient, that is, it knows you. It knows what you like and remembers what you like. Every time you open up a guide from Comcast or Cox or DirecTV or Sky, you have to tell it all over again the things that you want, and as soon as you've told it, it forgets again. And you're back to square one. That's the first thing. The second thing, it has to be omnipresent. It has to be everywhere where you are to be really useful. And the third thing of your entertainment experience. Now, this is the crucial picture. This is why I'm telling you about a guide. This is the network environment for the personal entertainment guide. This is the network environment for entertainment from here on out. The two are permanently and completely intertwined. This is very complicated to contemplate in all the pieces in isolation. But there's one thing, there's one saving grace here that makes it much easier than this diagram looks. And that's IP, Internet Protocol. Internet Protocol, of course, runs the web. Internet Protocol delivers much of the content on the new phones that we've just heard about. And as we'll see towards the end of this presentation, Internet Protocol will deliver much of the content that we will be watching on our televisions at home. So, for an operator, and I'm not necessarily here talking about just somebody like a cable company or a satellite company, but for an operator that is providing content, if they can pull together a coherent picture of our entertainment universe, people will love you. And it sounds funny to say, but about 4 years ago, Josh Burnoff did a study of PVR users, TiVo users. And he was stunned. 30% of people said they loved their TiVo. They used the word love in response. And even better than that, 70 or 80%, and listen to this, 70 or 80% said TiVo made a huge difference in their life. That's really what we're talking about here. Entertainment defines a lot of what we do in our lives. And there is a great opportunity for us to really reshape that and to really help people, and in the process, get our videos and our programming in front of more people. Now, so what conclusions can we draw from this? Well, clearly, entertainment is not just about channels anymore. Very much not just about channels, and we'll be talking a lot more about that when we get to internet video. Critical issue here is knowing your audience, being able to cater to them with special packages and leveraging unique relationships is absolutely critical in enhancing their experience. The guide that I described integrates all of those pieces together. Operators have got to stop thinking about closed and start thinking about open. They've got to figure out how to co-opt new media to help consumers find stuff that they want, to retain them. And finally, differentiation with experience, clearly the only sustainable advantage. So, that said, let's look at a transition that is going on today. And this transition is, we have a new entrant for the first time in 15 years into the broadcast television market. And this is the telcos. The telcos are fighting very, very hard to retain their customers, their voice customers, and they have realized that in order to be effective, they have to deliver video as well. I was reading a transcript of a presentation that Brian Robertson gave from Comcast last Q3 2005. And, you know, he must have been practically dancing on the table. He was saying how triple play was you know, was in such demand by consumers, and they couldn't get it fast enough, and it cured churn. If you were a telco listening to this, you better be pretty worried right now. So telcos, they're not standing still. We're going to talk about one in particular in the US, and we're going to talk about a very mature market. When a telco takes a subscriber for video, they don't win the subscriber from somebody who was watching free-to-air TV. They have to win it from somebody that had cable or satellite. This is a mature market. If you have entrenched competition, and listen, any new entrant here is facing entrenched competition, you have to be very clever about how to compete with them. You can't just go head-to-head with them in traditional ways. You have to find unique ways to compete. So let's talk about a small telco and figure out how they can win with a sharp focus on their customers, a focus on core strengths, and a very flexible approach. The customer, the telco we're going to talk about, telco in my backyard, is SureWest. SureWest is based in California, in Sacramento, in the Sacramento Valley. They service a very interesting mixed viewership, mixed audience. The audience consists of very well-to-do, educated townies. Sacramento, after all, is the seat of government for California. So Arnold Schwarzenegger spends a lot of time there. But it's surrounded by a rural population, a large rural population consisting of a lot of ethnic minorities that actually end up in those areas being ethnic majorities. They are providing voice, video, data, and mobile. They're a quad play. They started in 2003. Now, this is very early. As you know, AT&T and Verizon are only just beginning to roll their solutions out. But these guys have been delivering video since 2003 in their market. They have a very mixed customer base, as I said, urban professionals and rural. They have 180,000 homes passed. They're small, but not tiny. There are many, many rural telcos that are much smaller than this. I was visiting one in Atlanta, Georgia, just last month. 3,500. They serviced an entire town called Ringgold. And they have, since 2003, they have garnered 10% market share for video now. 18,000 subs. Probably a little more than that now, since I took these numbers. Probably more like 12 or 13%. They're doing this against Comcast. You couldn't pick a big competitor than Comcast. So how are they doing it? How are they being successful against 245 channels, VOD, HD TV? Well, they're offering all of that. That's for sure. But they're just a Me Too operator. So they must be doing something to be garnering market share. And they certainly are, because look, they're getting 22% annual growth in subscribers. It's pretty good. I'm going to skip, I'm not going to dwell on this. It's a very complicated diagram. It basically talks about their network. They do not use, many of you may have heard of Microsoft's IPTV solution. Microsoft wasn't even in when these guys rolled out. So what they've done is they've built, the point of this is they've built their own network from best of breed providers, technology providers. They did this themselves. They didn't have a systems integrator. They built it themselves. So, what are their keys to success? Well, bundles. 80% of their subscribers are on 2 services or more. 80%. That's a very, very high number for a telco. 54% have triple play. That is voice video data or voice video mobile or some combination. Their marketing is very smart. They've been very savvy about the way they've marketed. They really do know their core market, and they have used local radio, TV, and billboards in particular markets with Spanish language spots on Spanish radio and billboards in rural areas in Spanish. So they've really targeted very carefully the audience that they wanted to reach. And they have niche products. And this is where they've really differentiated and where they've really used the fact that a telco can deliver a really different and almost inexhaustibly extensive of content. They've gone out and built packages specifically targeted at their local audience. They have 2 Spanish-speaking packages, not one. One package is aimed at the predominantly Mexican population, and the other package is aimed at other Spanish-speaking populations. But it didn't stop there. There were also substantial Philippine and Asian populations as well, and some Japanese. And so they have channels launched specifically for these people. The other thing is quality. How do you address the urban, upwardly mobile group in Sacramento? What are they doing? Well, they're buying HD plasmas right now. And if you, I sat down with Shaw West and they showed me side by side EchoStar HD, that was Discovery HD Theatre, and their HD. And I tell you, the difference was incredible. I couldn't believe how sharp and clear and bright the image was on the Shaw West system in comparison with the system for the EchoStar HD. So if you're buying a plasma TV, you want this service because your plasma is just going to shine. So that's how a small local telco is using content to differentiate themselves against a major competitor and to continue to grow their market. But the interesting thing about telcos entering the market for video today versus when satellite entered the market for video 15 years ago is it's not the same market. The internet in the last 2 years has proved itself capable of delivering a superb video experience. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So, broadband penetration worldwide now has hit 37%, probably more like 38% now. This is shifting the consumer's perception of the internet. And I want to take a second here, but I want to play you a sound file, if I can get there.
The reason I like it, I like to listen to some good, mostly pastors, like Chuck Swindoll, James Dobson, and I couldn't get them on the regular internet here at the store. I was charged long distance, and so really I didn't think I could afford it. So when Michael came up with wireless, it suited me, but it's fine. And I was listening to the internet this morning. I keep it on just about all.
was first introduced, right? Radio was actually the technology that was delivering the sound, and somehow it transferred from being the technology to being the entertainment medium itself. It's already happening with the internet. The way this old gentleman thinks about the internet is really quite different to the way perhaps I do and the way perhaps many of us who've been steeped in the technology do. The internet means to him entertainment and access to the stuff that he wants. And this is really quite new. The second thing that's really driving the creation of video on the internet and the delivery of video on the internet now, and we talked about this at the very first session, is the consumer as content creator. I happened to, I was in the kitchen cooking one evening, and my daughter was on the web, and suddenly I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Do any of you remember that song, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better? Wonderful old song. My daughter's 12. She's never heard this song before. Wouldn't have thought she was interested in this. So I stuck my head in to see what she was watching. What she was doing even. What she was doing was some girl had created a mashup of this cartoon called Avatar. My daughter's always correcting me on that as well. She was watching a mashup, and it was the two protagonists, a boy and a girl, and this girl, I don't know how on earth she'd done it. She cut together scenes from all of the different avatars to pretty much synchronize. Well, obviously the voices weren't synchronized, but it was pretty much synchronized with this song, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. And I stood there, and I watched over her shoulder, and it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun to watch. What really caught my eye was when I looked over and I saw the comment. She was watching it on YouTube, and the comment of the lady, the young girl or whoever it was who produced this, was she said, "You cannot believe the fun I had doing this. This must have taken her hours." But that was the comment. So what's really fundamentally happened here is that consumers of entertainment are turning around and creating entertainment from that entertainment that people who like that like, and even people like me like. It's fun to watch. Major broadcasters, you all know this, major broadcasters have totally bought into the model now. I heard many people say, "Oh, my teenage kids, you know, they're showing the way." I'm sorry, it's me. I was in a hotel room last week in DC, and I'd been doing a lot of traveling, and I'd missed 24. I missed the last episode of 24, and I went onto MySpace, and I watched MySpace, the Fox site on MySpace, and I watched the whole of 24 while I ate in my room. And I'm telling you, it never hiccuped, it never coughed, it never stopped. There were no visual artifacts. And this was, I'm guessing, about 8 p.m. at night. That's why major broadcasters are there. I watched advertising. I can tell you exactly the advert that was on there. It was the flipping Verizon chocolate cell phone, which they showed the ad about 15 times. I tell you what, I couldn't skip it, but it didn't stop me watching it, and I was happy to watch the ads to be able to keep up with 24. So, I didn't buy one. That's another story. So, quality delivery is available, very high quality. ABC.com. Did anybody catch the HD Spider-Man on ABC.com last week? It was there for like 2 days. Oh my goodness. This was great. I watched it on my kids. They got a much better machine than I have. My old IBM couldn't handle it, but I tell you what, this was fantastic. It was about it was 5 minutes, and it showed a lot of details of the upcoming movie. And boy, am I going to be going to watch that movie. It looked absolutely fabulous. And this was delivered in, it was progressive download. It wasn't streamed. But, you know, from the moment I clicked to watch it to when I could actually start watching it, 2 minutes. This medium, internet, provides a direct connection to the consumer. And if you think about it, cable and satellite kind of got in the way of content providers. It started out with content providers having a direct connection, be it one way. The internet gives the direct connection back. And in fact, there's nobody in the way. And it's two-way. So now I can actually get telemetry. If somebody's watching stuff off my site, I know exactly who's watching it on my site. I know how long they watch for. I know if they watched my ads. I know if they clicked on banners. And there is nobody in the way between me and the viewer. So this is why we have video. This is why this tsunami of video is hitting the internet today. And I'm going to skip over this slide and we'll go directly to here. And it's having a tangible effect on the type of video that you find. There is a shift from these video snacks on YouTube, which are marginally interesting at best, all the way over here, sorry, into entertainment. This is long form program quality. You can go out and you can go to AOL TV, you can go to abc.com, you can go to bbc.co.uk, you can go to every major broadcaster around the world and watch first run brand new content. We're seeing movie download services. We're seeing HD movie download services are appearing. So over the last 2 years, we have really been moving dramatically in that direction. This is good quality entertainment. And where does it belong? Not on the PC screen. It belongs on your TV. And it's going to get there. Already, major technology companies are hatching their evil plans to hook up this once isolated box called the television to the internet and cause chaos in the process. How's it going to happen? Well, it's going to happen in the short term through this thing that I call an ITVA. This is an Internet TV adapter. And pretty basic setup here. The television households will be watching internet video on their TV. 100 million people by 2011. Now, sure, that's not as big as the billion or so that are already watching TV today, but it's a pretty big number. And I think you can guess which markets will embrace this first. What are they going to be watching? So, I talked about already movie download services. These types of services are what I call closed or walled garden services. Why are these services so successful? Well, they're successful because there are very clear business models. And it's very easy to monetize the purchase of a movie, the purchase of a show, right? One of the problems that we have today in the internet is that the business models for doing this free are still emerging. It's very difficult. We know what we know is, we know the ad model in TV doesn't work in this space, but we don't have something to replace it. We know that the DVR, people are skipping the ads, but we don't have something better to put in its place. Now, Lots of companies are starting to do things, pre-rolls. They're starting to do pause ads. They're starting to do fast forwards ads. And we can talk about some of the other things, some of the other very exciting things that are also happening to help monetize this. But today, walled garden will dominate. Akimbo, Cinema Now. There are also a new breed of I call them pay TV operators, internet pay TV operators. This is the classic pay TV model. I have a bunch of content. I'm going to deliver it to you for a certain set fee a month. Colin TV. Colin TV have gone and negotiated the broadcast rights to Chinese television outside of China. They have 30 channels. You sign up with Colin TV, it costs you about, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks. You get 30 channels, you get a little box called the Pony, little yellow set-top box, stick it under your TV, plug it into your broadband, plug it into your TV, and you're watching live broadcast television from China. Now, we know that the internet can be variable in quality, and maybe sometimes your broadband connection is down, but don't fear with Colin TV here. You can go backwards 7 days in the guide with Colin TV. You never miss a show. Even if while you're watching the internet connection deteriorates so badly that you can't watch it, you can catch the end later. And that's just one of a whole slew of over-the-top iPay TV operators that are going to be joining the fray here and delivering traditional pay TV services. If you are a Chinese speaker and you live in Detroit and somebody shows you Colin TV, are you going to go get it? Absolutely. This is must-have service. This is service that you will give other things up for, right? Now, take this concept and duplicate it for every niche you can think of. I bet each and every one of you have an interest, a passion that would get you reaching into your pocket to subscribe. Let's say you're a bass fisherman. There is two bass fishing shows a week. They're both on ESPN2, and they're both at wacky times, 6 a.m. in the morning, and I forget what time the other one's on, probably in the middle of the night. If a 24/7, 365 days a year wide-mouth bass channel was available on broadband, would you go to the trouble of getting it on your television and paying it? You bet you would. You'd figure this out, particularly if they made it easy by giving you a set-top box. So you are going to see a huge growth in these niche channels and this niche appeal content over the next several years. What does this mean? Well, it means that by 2011, consumers will have spent $10 billion on movies and subscription video services for television. And I'm just going to say here, I did not include ad revenues in this analysis, primarily for the reasons that we talked about. We're still working out the ad revenue models. So my feeling is that consumers will spend that, but the ad revenue that will come from this is of magnitude higher by the time we get to 2011, because we will have ad models that work by then. I hinted at open. Let me just stop and talk a little bit about some of the barriers to open content on television. Today, there isn't a way for a web site to author in a standard fashion for the television experience, for the 10-foot experience. This is a big problem, very big problem for website providers, for content providers, and incidentally for the television industry as well. They have all told me, all of the major television manufacturers have told me that they are adding broadband connections to their televisions. So that's they tell me this and I go, great, okay, well when does this happen? They will say, well within 2 years, every television above 20 inches will have a broadband connection. So I say, oh great, okay, how are people going to find stuff? I don't know. Maybe we'll give them a keyboard? I don't think so. I don't think that model's going to fly. The good news is that there are already some efforts which should deliver very, very quickly a standard for authoring to a 10-foot experience. CE-HTML, Consumer Electronics HTML, which is a simplified version of HTML specifically for consumer electronics. WTVML. WTVML came from the old WAP browser. Sky is currently has on their site. You can visit something like 1,000 open websites. They have no control over these websites, and they're all written to WTVML, which basically formalizes how you develop to a 10-foot experience. Finding stuff. Finding stuff is a huge, huge problem. The way we find things is not, I think, the way pay TV providers think we find things. Certainly, our discussion of the guide at the beginning shows you how woefully inadequate what they're doing is. The way we find things is typically through interaction, through social interaction. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see these guides starting to appear that allow us to share top 10 lists, that allow me to send you, hey, go look at this clip. In fact, it was CBS. Was it CBS that announced at CES that they would allow people to send clips through the Slingbox to their buddies? I think it was CBS. This is how we're going to find stuff. It's water cooler. It's the virtual water cooler. And there are other problems of delivery, like the physical connectivity to the box. But I want you to notice, the interesting thing about the ITVAs is that the ITVAs are there on TV not because of TV, they're there because of other purposes. So, this will help once they're there. We can start using them for other things. And delivering video is one of those things. So, if you are a pay TV provider or a mainstream content provider on TV today, video is a foe. It's already a threat to traditional TV. It is already consuming the viewers' time. It's certainly consuming mine, and it's certainly consuming my kids' time. And viewers only have so many hours in a day that they can watch TV. And studies have shown, if you go look at historical census data from the US government, it will show that we really don't have much more than 2.25 hours a day to really watch TV. So it's already taking away time from that. But it's also a friend. And operators and content providers have to find a way to adjust their models to embrace the medium. So what do we see at the Diffusion Group? We see a fast growth in hybrid services. Hybrid services that are doing other things other than just delivering TV that they can easily monetize, like game services, or like TiVo, that already have a valid business model, a subscription business model. And these services will begin to add a lot of web video over time. We think terrestrial and satellite will lead. BT Vision in the UK is a hybrid service. It's a hybrid service. They have how many of you are familiar with Freeview in the UK? Very, very briefly, Freeview is the UK digital TV service, not HD by the way. But it's launched, there are 30 or 35 channels available. All you have to do is stick an aerial on the roof, buy a little adapter box, and bingo, you've got digital. By the way, many UK people still have aerials on their roof, so it's very easy for them to do this. So what BT has done, they have created this hybrid box, and the hybrid box is part DVR, part Freeview tuner, and part broadband box. And it allows people to record the Freeview stuff, but it also allows them to go get enhanced content that Freeview has negotiated with content providers through their broadband connection. Likewise, we already talked about AT&T's Home Zone. So these are examples of new operators that are finding ways to co-opt this new distribution medium called the internet. So, just to finish before we do some Q&A, the tsunami of content is, I believe, completely unstoppable now. The web is doing what the web has always done. It's a democratizer. It connects people with people, allowing aggregation of niches into addressable markets, and it democratizes the ability of somebody with something to say to be heard. And it is coming to a television very near you within the next 5 years. So, that's the formal part of the presentation. Questions? I'm sure I've thrown up lots of thoughts in your mind. Yes?
Based on the last comment you made, the next 5 years, I remember in 1995, it was always the next 5 years. Why do you think this is different? Why do you think
Why do I think it's different?
Yeah.
Because it started. It started. As I said, BT has already launched. Colin TV has launched and is, they won't give me numbers, but all I can say is that they're busily rolling out their next service. Fabulous example. I couldn't believe this. There's a company called Aggregator in the UK. An Aggregator they've just launched a new web video channel, and it's called Rail TV. RAILTV.com, I think it is. I think it's a .com. And this website, this video channel, is aimed at enthusiasts. Now, if any of you saw Train Spotting, or you probably don't know that there are a lot of very strange people in England that are very enthusiastic about trains. And it turns out there's been some absolutely fantastic content produced over the last 20 years, 30 years, about train journeys. There was one superb one about driving on trains in India. And they've got all of this content, they've got rights to all of this content, and you can go buy it for £1.99 for 5 days viewing on their website. And I meant to bring it with me to show you. I could have showed you some of it, and it's really very, very, very good quality. And if you have a media center laptop, it's very easy to hook it up to your TV, and it's TV quality. Actually, it's better. It's DVD quality. It's very, very good quality material. So, why do I think that 5 years is not? Why is it just 5 years? Well, the simple reason is because it started. And it's actually measurable today. You can go and ask Cinema Now, and Microsoft will start reporting on the number of videos that they've actually sold. Apple's introduced the iTV, which is an example of a closed TV delivery system. But hey, it's a business model that Apple certainly knows, and we all know. $1.99 or $2.99 for a show, right? So that's why I'm so absolutely convinced that it's here. Oh, there's one other thing I should tell you. In the interest of full disclosure, I actually worked at Web TV for a while. So let me tell you, I can tell you exactly what a bad idea it is to ask people to browse on the web. It's a need. So when I was talking about solutions to this 10-foot experience, I'm painfully aware of how necessary these solutions are and how woefully inadequate the response that you will use a keyboard is. It won't be a keyboard, it'll be a remote control. So, questions? Yes, sir.
What about monetizing content on the web? It sounds like you're focusing this whole thing on the set-top experience.
Can you be a bit more specific?
Well, I mean, what do you see? Do you see a continued future growth in monetizing video content on the web, or do you see this?
Do I see huge growth? Yeah, I see massive, absolutely massive growth. Let me give you some examples. There's actually a wonderful workshop that's run by the AFI. I don't know if it used to be called the Interactive Television Workshop, and if you've ever attended that, you've seen some of the hints. I'll give you a great example of a usage model. We talked about telco operators, right? They're offering triple play. How do telco operators differentiate using their triple play? Here's a great example. I'm watching a cooking show, and I really want that recipe. And so I can click, I just press select, and bingo, I've got that recipe. But you know, it's no good if it's on my TV. Where do I need it? I need it to be on my cell phone, right? Because the cell phone I've got with me when I'm at the grocery store, so I can buy the recipe components. Well, what a simple and easily monetizable model for a triple play operator. From the guide, I go look at my bookmarks and I can just say send to cell phone. Bingo, 10 cents. I just got charged 10 cents for an SMS message. I shared that revenue. If I don't have a mobile system of my own, maybe I split that revenue 50-50 with the mobile operator that happened. This, by the way, is exactly the model that Sky has been using in the UK. The Sky system earns £500 million, about $1 billion a year of interactive. Now, around about half of that is betting, which we can't do here. But that still leaves $500 million on the table, and that is comprised of this sort of service, this sort of transaction. And the great thing about this for the operators is it gives an enhanced experience. But think about it also from the content provider's point of view. The content provider can now sell enhanced advertising based on the same method that they used to do the recipe. They can sell enhanced advertising because now I can bookmark, right? So if I'm watching Home and Garden TV and there's a sofa I like, I can say, oh, I like that. I click and I bookmark that bit. I go back, and when I look at the page that has that bookmark, there's an advertisement from Serta or whoever made the furniture, which I can click and get more information. So I think a lot of the ways that we were expecting interactive TV won't necessarily be the ways that interactive TV actually ends up working. But I think we can see very clear usage models here where binding everything together with this IP fabric creates wonderful opportunities. If you're a content provider, think about this for a second. If your viewer loves Desperate Housewives, for the first time ever, you have the opportunity to reach them with Desperate Housewives in every aspect of their life. You can sell them the ringtone for their cell phone. You can sell them video clips of Terry Hatcher doing an interview about a fist fight she got into with another star on the set. You can sell them a video blog being kept by a minor actress who was in one of the episodes. All of this monetizable through advertising, and some of it saleable. They will pay for the ringtone. So as you think about content, you need to keep this picture that I put up of the guide in mind. That is the world that your content is inhabiting from now on. As I said, please, if you would like a copy of the presentation, I'm happy to provide that. Just leave me a business card and I'll get it to you. Any other questions? I have no idea how we're doing for time. Is it 5 o'clock yet?
Getting a little close.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Just real quick, it seems to me that you're focused very much on long form, but right now video on the web is very short form centric. And you're hearing a lot of the agencies saying that around commercial production, they're now doing multiple formats of the same commercial. And even people like NBC are cutting small form videos of Heroes and Jericho and the like. As we move to back towards a TV-centric approach versus a PC or a laptop approach, how do you think that's going to affect the short form versus long form conversation?
Well, I think one of the reasons that they're moving towards the shorter form is because they know the shorter form tests really well in the mobile world. The mobile world isn't going away. So I think that they will continue to do that. Even at the same time as utilizing this new delivery mechanism called the internet to reach the television. But you hit on something that is actually another huge problem. If you think about delivery on the internet, you think about, well, what are the major encoders? Well, there's Microsoft Windows Media 9, there's MPEG-4, there's Flash, which I think is 2, and there's a bunch of other proprietary formats. What's more, one of the ways that the Fox site is doing a great job in streaming is that they're actually changing the bit rate of the video that they're sending to me in real time, sensing what's going on. So what this means for a content provider is a nightmare. What are you delivering? How many versions am I going to have to produce of my content? Well, the truth is, you will probably only have to produce one of a unique piece of content, like a Desperate Housewives or a short video, and it will be transcoded when it's delivered. They'll make the decision on the optimal rate to deliver it at on the fly, and it will be streamed at that rate. Technology for that is arriving today. There are many, many companies that are now starting to focus their attention on this. Some startups and some more traditional companies that you've heard of. So yeah, it's a big problem. But remember, this is the environment for content today. People are going to want to consume your content wherever they are, whatever they're doing. And this is an opportunity. You heard The Lonely Girl. The Lonely Girls, I think, are very short, right? They're like 5 or 3 minute segments. So that works really great and can be a really engaging experience. But I bet they could take that. They could take the five 5-minute episodes and do a deal with a traditional television broadcaster, or even better, just create a 25-minute show themselves that summarizes all 5 episodes. And people can watch that on their TV in a much more lean-back, passive environment. Any other questions?
About a year ago, Google announced a PCI card project where they were going to basically create a card that goes in your computer that supplies you with a remote control. And they basically were going to turn it into like an internet TV guide. Do you have any comments on that, or have you heard about anything?
Is this crazy idea that they had of monitoring what was going on TV
No.
to tell? No, I'm not. I guess I'm not.
Well, no, they were actually going to monitor the speaker. That one.
Oh yeah. It's crazy,
What was going on in the background of your room?
Yeah.
No, this dealt with a card that would go into your machine, into a laptop or PC that came with a remote control.
Yeah.
And Google was basically going to put up a TV guide that you could basically go surf the internet for video, obviously through YouTube or Google.
Yeah.
And when you found it, you just click on it and bam, it comes up on your TV, and it's just like a little remote control.
It's marginally interesting. It's not necessary. The pieces are in place already to.
But that's just find the content.
Yes, and
You know, that's what they were marketing.
I can tell you, there are some very interesting companies out there that get video. I don't think Google really does today. The way, you're still doing text searches. Listen, that's not the way we remember video. What do you remember about Casablanca? He's looking at you, kid. Right, or played it, no, it was played again, Sam, right? Played again. That's what we remember. You know that before the movie was made? No, you can't anticipate what's gonna stick in people's minds. So companies like Blinks are real video search companies. What they're doing is they're actually getting into the video, and they are doing text recognition inside the video. They're doing pattern recognition inside the video. They're doing a very optimized text, a speech to text, where they're doing something like they recognize the type of video it is, and they load an alphabet that's appropriate so that they can differentiate between, I'll give you a great example, the word mistakes and the word missed cakes. If you're a cooking show, you might well hear the phrase missed cakes. But if you're not, you probably wouldn't. But the two sound phonetically very, very similar. Blinks, and there's another company who escapes me just now, but I'm happy to provide it if anybody's interested. They're doing a lot of foundation research here, and they're getting out and crawling websites and actually searching through videos in this way to fully document them, to create what I consider to be a much more complete metadata set. That is data about the video. Yes, sir.
Of the triple play, it seems to me the hardest to pull off, and the telcos are getting into it pretty late in the game. What's your prognosis as to how successful they'll be, particularly with the tsunami coming of direct access via the internet?
So this is very difficult for them. It's very difficult at precisely the time that they're trying to bring something new to a consumer. The consumer's also being confronted with a lot of choice on the internet, which is taking away from time both of their regular pay TV viewing and of their interest level in new pay TV services. It's a very difficult time. That said, we have done quite a lot of research in the receptivity for a telco TV operator to take service, and what we think is that relatively quickly they can gain a 10% market share. When we've done studies, what we found is that there's 8 to 10% of people who are pretty unhappy with what they've got today, and they'll jump given the right incentive. And you saw, $79 for triple play from Shore West. You're going to see deals like that in the market. That'll get people to jump. So they'll grab 10% pretty quickly. Long term, oh boy. Customer acquisition cost, DirecTV and EchoStar report is about $700 a head. $700 a head.
Wow.
It's a lot. That's how much money they're going to have to start shelling out to leverage every percentage gain. It's really tough. Now, that said, they're investing a tremendous amount of money in their market. I do not believe they will ever make a dime from their pay TV services, but there is a but. These new networks that they're investing in have a lot of legs. And I think that you will find internally when you go talk to these companies that they have plans to not only go to 100 meg to the home, they'll have plans to get to a gigabyte. If they don't, they're crazy because they need it. The services that they will be able to launch on those networks will be unmatchable by other means. Cable talk about being able to pair bond, cable modem version 3 services to get up to 80 or 90 megabits to the home. But listen, did anybody see that Cisco demo of what's it called, video conferencing, where they had plasma screens set up around the table, and plasma screens were that they had HD cameras somewhere off projecting people into the room, Has anybody done a video meeting themselves? I've done them over Skype. Listen, I tell you, those sorts of services, people are going to want to launch those services. Companies are going to want to launch those services. Do you know how much money companies save by people working from home and not having to maintain offices? Do you know how much T&E they'll save? And that's just one. HD TV inside gaming, HD advertising inside gaming, HD feeds. You know, there are so many things I see evolving in the in the world right now, which are just going to continue to fuel our thirst for higher bandwidth. That I see, you know, I see 1 gigabit is kind of table stakes. You've got to have a plan to get to 1 gigabit. I'll give you a really simple example. I was at IBC last year, late last year, and IBC, they gave a demonstration of Ultra HD. And you're thinking, how good can it be? Oh my God, it's like reality. You stand there and it's a massive display and you see no pixelation, all the lines are smooth, you're right in front of it and still all the lines are smooth. It's like being there. Well, this requires 300 times the bandwidth, 300 times the bandwidth of 720p HD today. So, you know, if the cinema industry start moving to higher and higher standards, you know that in order to sell the DVDs and to be competitive with HD, that they're going to push the standards there. You can conceive of another order of magnitude growth in the demand for broadband bandwidth in a not too distant future. So, boy, the good news is I think they'll get there in the end. They just won't get there with pay TV the way they're expecting.
To add, in Japan there's like 8 million fiber optic subscriber, which is 100 meg, and you can get actually about 60 megabyte on that line.
Yeah.
And for $70 in Osaka, you can get now gigabit connection for your home.
Yeah, yeah.
To provide.
We will absolutely be consumers of bandwidth of that order in 10 or 15 years, no question. I think we should probably wrap this up. I'm sticking around for a bit. If you want to come by and chat to me about any of this, I'm more than happy to do it. As I say, give me a business card and I'll guarantee to get you a nice white paper on broadband video and the presentation.
Do you have a website or email?
Yeah, you can go. Oh, sorry. Look, let me put this up. There's our website. This is how you can get more information. So if you want to send, if you don't want to give me a business card, note down one of these. Note down the Andy one, the Andy@thediffusiongroup.com, and just say you saw me speak and you want my presentation.
Oh, and also, if anybody's interested, this will be on DVD starting tomorrow about noon. So upstairs in the other room. So, yes.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm just so you know, I'm on the West Coast.